This is the 2024 Kia EV9 and it just won a bunch of awards. Is it any good? Let's go find out. After driving it for a week, yeah, this is a good SUV. It's not perfect, but if you're looking for an EV that doesn't look like a massive egg, has lots of great technology inside, excellent ride and handling qualities, and also fast charging, I would buy this in a heartbeat if I was in a market for an EV that has 3 rows. Start with the main specs. The range is between 230 miles for the light rear-wheel drive version, all the way up to 304 miles for the light long-range rear-wheel drive. This GT line all-wheel drive is 270 miles. And it comes with a 99.8 kilowatt hour, 800 volt battery, so you could charge from 10 to 80% state of charge in 24 minutes, given that you're plugging into a 350 kilowatt DC fast charging station. If you're charging in a level 2, it can go from 10 to 100% in 8 hours and 45 minutes. This top trim GT line has dual motor, so it has all-wheel drive capability, and it gives you 370 horsepower and up to 516 pound-feet of torque. This goes 0 to 60 in about 5 seconds, and it also has a 5,000 pound towing capacity. It also has V2L, or vehicle to load, so this can basically become a generator for your house if you want to. Very importantly, this has a heat pump. A heat pump is basically a refrigerator that's running in reverse, and it's very efficient at heating up the cabin space rather than resistive heating, which is what you'll normally find in lower end or cheaper EVs. So if you live in a place with colder climate where you need all-wheel drive, you should get an EV with a heat pump so that you don't sacrifice the range to be comfortable inside the car. Now, as for pricing, the EV9 starts at just a hair under $55,000, but this long-range all-wheel drive GT line starts at $73,900, and as you see it in front of you, it totals $78,430. There's a lot of big 3-row SUVs, some luxury SUVs at that price point. With EVs, it's just going to be more expensive. That's just the state of things in the year 2024. But if you are looking for an EV that has 3 rows, the options are sort of slim, mostly available at the luxury end of things. A Rivian R1S starts at under $75,000. The Cadillac Escalade IQ, which will be big and luxurious, starts at $130,000. Now, if you're looking for a non-luxury brand 3-row SUV, Tesla Model X, I don't consider that luxury, and it also has a tiny 3rd row. Then there's also the Volkswagen ID Buzz, which is not yet available at the time of this filming, and that's more of a minivan or a small bus. So this Kia EV9 is like a traditional 3-row SUV, and it doesn't look ugly. And I think this Kia can sort of pass as a premium or luxury car once you hop inside. But let's first start with the exterior. I think the most appealing thing about this EV9 is the look. It doesn't look like a boring SUV. The closest thing it looks like is the Kia Telluride, which is a fantastic looking SUV. The EV9 takes that Telluride profile and it chisels it a bit more. The Telluride has a 114.2 inch wheelbase, and this one has been stretched out to 122 inches, and you'll see how that affects the amount of room and comfort inside. There are sharper edges above the wheel arches, giving it Kia's new design language that you could also see in the all-new Kia K4 sedan. That's the Forte replacement. And I love, love, love the front end of this Kia EV9. The headlight cluster is some of the best in an SUV, and the visual presence of this when it sits in a parking lot, it really just stands out from the rest of the crowd. The cluster of LEDs look really luxurious, and I love all of these LEDs hidden inside the front bumper. This is something that you'll get once you step up to the Lan and the GT line trims. And as for this GT line version, you get this racier looking front bumper. There are also active shutters in here which will feed more air for the climate system and also to help cool the batteries as well. As for the profile, the EV9 looks very powerful and aggressive. I love the blacked out wheel arches, and also check out these 21-inch wheels. The Kia EV9 wheels look very unique, kind of dorky, and I applaud Kia for taking such a bold stance in choosing wheels that look very non-traditional. And if you look closer, these are EV specific tires. These are Hankook Ion Evo AS. You can see the EV stamp on there, and sound absorber. So there is a foam liner along the tread here, so that helps block out some of the road noise, and you could really hear the difference with these cars. If you have to replace these tires, make sure you replace it with an EV specific tire. This way that you can maintain the range and also the ride comfort. EVs are heavier cars, so they may potentially chew through tires a little bit more quickly. So make sure that if you replace your tires, get ones that have been specifically engineered for EVs. This has 7.8-inch ground clearance, which isn't the highest for an SUV, but it won't get you stuck in some of the more rougher trails. As for the door handles, they recess into the bodywork so it's more flush and aerodynamic. Aerodynamics is very important for EVs because you don't want anything to rob you of your range. So the design is generally more smooth, and there's not a lot of things that stick out, like the rear windshield wiper has been recessed underneath the spoiler there. And check out the back end of this design. I love the LED taillights. It highlights the corners of the car. Overall, this is a very sharp looking SUV, especially with this hero color called Ocean Blue. Now, if you like these videos that are short and to the point, please consider hitting that like and subscribe button because that's going to help this channel out immensely. As for the inside, it's a little bit hard to see, but there are 3 individual screens here blended into this single panel. This seems like the new standard in car design. A lot of new cars look like this, where they just have this singular panel showing the digital driver display and also the infotainment system. These are your climate controls, which is oddly placed. It's okay for everyone else, but for the driver, this portion of the steering wheel does block some of this information. As for the infotainment system, this comes built in with wireless Apple CarPlay and wireless Android Auto. And I love the shortcut buttons along this dash here, but if you have any sort of sun glaring through, yeah, these things are just going to wash out. And this GT line also comes with this 360-degree parking view. And what I love about this is that not only does this make parking a lot easier, but when you turn on your turn signals, it'll also provide that camera feed into these digital clusters. And up top, this rear view mirror turns into a digital rear view mirror. And straight ahead, there's also a heads-up display. And to top it all off, you also have a wireless charger and also a fingerprint reader. And this is a way to start the car. You can have your phone as your digital key so that as long as you have your phone, you can climb in the car, put your finger on here and start the car. So there's a lot of technology in this car, and I also love the interior materials in here. It doesn't look like the old Kias that you know of in the past. There's a lot of more premium materials, at least in this GT line, and this looks like a premium, maybe luxury car. I love the physical climate controls on here. You still get a physical volume dial, though this is a lot easier to press rather than rotate. You could also control that here as well on the steering wheel buttons, and these are all very physical and tactile. I love the quality of them, and I like how the gear shifter has been mounted on the steering column here, so that really opens up the space in the center. You have this floating center console, and you could roll this forward to expose these cup holders, which you could also rotate out of the way. So if you want to store larger items in here, you could do that as well. Down below, there's a lot of storage. And as for the steering wheel, you have paddle shifters, great 9 and 3 position. This is very hefty. And I also like this crossbar on here. You can see the drive mode button and the 4-wheel drive lock integrated into this crossbar. But basically, this is a very comfortable position to place your hand in when you are on a long highway drive. And when the road gets twisty, this is the more comfortable driving position. And back to that gear shifter, this is the same design in the Ioniq. So to drive forward, you basically just tilt this forward, and to go backwards, tilt it back, and then to park, press this button. As for the seats look fantastic. This is the fake leather stuff, and I actually prefer this because this won't get as hot in the summertime, and it still looks like leather. You can see the GT line inscription on there. And as for the headrest, this is all fabric that's been stretched over some plastic components on here, and this is very comfortable. There are a lot of adjustments in here. This comes with the comfort package. So this has a leg support that extends back, and this is an EV after all, so you may be sitting in a charging station for a while, so you could fully recline this seat and take a nap during your long road trips as you charge up. This is a very comfortable reclining position, and you can also see that there's heated and ventilated seats functions in here, your heated steering wheel, and also a massage feature, but just for the driver. I also like some of the other luxury car features, like this power adjustment for your steering column. There's also power folding mirrors in this car. And as for the second row, this version comes with captain's chairs. This is also heated and ventilated, and there's a sunshade in here as well. And check out that panoramic sunroof. There's a lot of visibility in here in this car. And for this seat, you could also fully recline. There's also this leg support just like the front seat. So this is a perfect place if you have some VIPs. And if you do have a VIP, put them in the right-hand side, because then you can also control the front passenger seat so that you can provide them with more room. And check this out, you also have USB-C connections for the front seats, so plenty of charging opportunities in this Kia EV9. Down below here, you have some sort of a compartment. This is a surface to place whatever, but you can also slide this open and reveal this secret compartment. You can store whatever you want in there. And up top, here are your climate controls for the second row, and here are your vents. This is a much more comfortable vent location rather than having it in the center console down here. And up here, you have some cup holders for the second row occupants. As for the third row, and I think this is the whole point of this vehicle, is to have a third row that is actually comfortable for adults. And to get inside for this GT line, you have this automatic seat that just tilts and slides forward, and I find that there's a lot of leg room here. If I sit upright, there's a little bit of space here. Of course, this can slide forward to provide a little bit more room. I'm 5'8" and I have plenty of headspace in this car, but my favorite thing about this third row is check out where my knee is compared to my hip. My thigh is pretty much parallel here, so this is going to be comfortable for long drives. In other three-row SUVs, the third row is pretty much just for small kids, so that when you try to sit back here, your knee is more like up here. So that's not going to be comfortable for those long drives. You do get some vents back here, also a USB-C charger and some cup holders. The Kia EV9 can seat up to 7. This GT line has the captain's chair, so this is really a 6-seater car. For the third row, you could only fit 2 adults back here. There's only 2 seat belts. And you'll notice that if you have 2 adults, they're going to be sitting shoulder to shoulder, but you know what, that's okay because you're in the third row. Now, as for cargo space, there's going to be 20.2 cubic feet of space behind the third row. This is my 30-liter photography bag. That's about the size of a check-in suitcase, so that should give you some idea. And to fold the third row, just pull on this rope here, push that down, do the same on this side, and the space grows to 43.5 cubic feet behind the second row. To lower the second rows, you can just press these buttons, and it's motorized, and it's going to, I like how it's going to slide back first if it's forward, and then tilt down so that it could go all the way down. And this will provide you 81.7 cubic feet of space behind the first row. That is a ton of space in this Kia EV9. One more thing you can see back here, this has the V2L, or vehicle to load. So this car can actually act like a big battery or a generator. Now, as for the EV portion of this car, this has a 99.8 kilowatt hour lithium ion battery that's 800 volts. So this can go from 10 to 80% state of charge at a DC fast charger with 350 kilowatts in just under 24 minutes. If you have a level 2 charger when you're charging at home, this can go from 10 to 100% in 8 hours and 45 minutes. If you're looking for an EV, something with an 800 volt battery architecture is what I recommend, because this way you could take advantage of the fastest chargers out there. Now, as for the driving experience, the EV9 has a great ride quality. I love how EVs are just so quiet to drive on the road, and the amount of road and wind noise is greatly diminished with all the smooth aerodynamic bodywork and also the tire technology. Now, these tires, like I mentioned, have a foam liner inside to help reduce some of that tire noise. EVs are heavier, so you should consider buying dedicated EV tires that's been designed for optimal range, performance, and also general ride comfort. As for handling, it's very impressive. I love the weight distribution of EVs, and it's no different for a big 3-row SUV like this. With all-wheel drive motor capability, you could really put down loads of grip, and this EV9 performs like a great rally car. The steering also feels very natural, and there's varying levels of power steering assistance Under normal driving, it feels pretty light, and then there's less assistance under sport mode. The steering wheel also feels hefty. The 9 and 3 positions is perfect for carving corners, and then this crossbar here, this is a very comfortable position to place your hand when you're on those super long, boring highway drives. And I also like the nice technology inside here as well to facilitate all of that driving. The digital rear view mirror is a nice addition. The wireless Apple CarPlay means that you could just keep your phone in your pocket. There's the wireless charger, the 360-degree camera view. I love the fact that when you turn your turn signals on, you can see the camera feeds in the digital cluster. And then there's also the highway driving assist system in here. This is highway driving assist 2. So this has adaptive cruise control, lane keeping assist, and also automatic lane change so that you can just soft press on the turn signals, and when available, this can actually change lanes on its own. So there's a lot of value in this Kia EV9, and I'm not surprised why this thing won so many awards. And in fourth quarter 2024, the Kia, just like a lot of other car companies, is going to adopt the North American charging standard. This way you could charge at those Tesla supercharger stations. And when that happens, I don't really see the reason why anyone would get the Model X over this Kia EV9. This has a lot of great technology inside, actual room in the third row, fast charging system, and also an excellent ride and handling quality, just like most other EVs out there. And since you're still watching, check out my video review of the Kia Telluride. If you're not ready for an EV just yet, the Kia Telluride is an excellent 3-row SUV, but the third row is still a little bit on the tiny side. But I want to thank you guys for watching all the way up to this point. My name is Hanson. That's the Kia EV9 GT line with all-wheel drive, and I'll see you in the next one.